Oh, champ. Run up these likes, run up these likes, run up these likes, run up these likes. Oh, champ. It looks like 50 Cent just forced Jim Jones to pay $200,000 to the landlord, the person who owns the podcast space. Apparently, Jim Jones really did not pay for the space that he was in. Apparently, the person who owns the space where Jim Jones, Mano Fabulous, and Dave East do their Let's Rap About It podcast apparently was not up to date on the rent. 50 Cent took to Instagram and says, so Jim wired the 200,000 over. Okay, cool. He may turn out to be a good tenant after all. Samuel, if you need me to make them pay, just give me a ring. I'm here. So apparently 50 Cent was doing the landlord a favor where they was doing the podcast that and forced Jim Jones to pay $200,000, which is crazy, by the way. Wild. Listen, man. If we being honest, man, Jim Jones does terrible business. And because Jim Jones does terrible business, this ends up happening. Jim Jones has a history of doing bad business. We could go back to Max B and Stack Bundles, who are under the Bird Gang umbrella, who used to be signed to Jim Jones, who also beefed with Jim Jones because he does bad business. Somebody needs to tell Jim Jones that he's not in the projects anymore and he has to get out of the projects or hood mentality, nigga. You've been rich since when? Since the early 2000s? Why in the world would you be withholding money from the person that you're renting to? Make it make sense. See, we could be mad at 50 Cent all we want, but Jim Jones is not good at doing business. That's why Cameron don't want nothing to do with him, champ. This is why people in the past don't really or have not rocked with Jim Jones, because Jim Jones is doing nasty business. I mean, we just have to be real about the situation. Yeah, it seems petty, but at the same time, did Jim Jones, the landlord, for the person who owns the space where Jim Jones and them is doing their podcast at, did they ring 50? did they beg 50 to try to purchase the property or threaten to purchase the property just so they could pay the bread, or Jimmy can pay the bread? Listen, man, that's nasty work on Jim's behalf. You dig? Elvis Presley is angry calling 50 a rat. I ain't gonna lie, he might have to go. You heard? Because all these false narratives just ain't necessary. When has 50 told, champ? You have too much hate in your heart, and for that, you must hug a shadow. I ain't gonna lie. Get out of here, champ. You're wild. And your name is Elvis Presley. Are you even black? Don't you know Elvis was a Geppetto? Elvis Presley, nigga, you're renaming yourself after somebody who literally married someone who was underage. Makes sense now, doesn't it? I see why y'all mad. Y'all might be Geppetto supporters and all that. I ain't gonna lie. Twan Maurice says, yeah, to have that bread and not pay your rent is crazy work. It's nasty work. We just gotta be real about the situation. You feel me? And why are you so angry? Listen, you could be angry at fifth. What can I do about that? Nothing. But the whole rat stuff, we're not doing it. I ain't gonna tolerate it. He made grown men pay their own bills. Now listen, this is just Jimmy. This is not Mano, Fab, or Davies' issue. This is Jimmy. Jimmy is the one buying out. This is his responsibility. So we got to take the blame off Mano and them because they don't got nothing to do with this. It's just Jimmy, champ. Why does 50 Cent have to make you pay your own bills? That's kind of wild. 50 Cent threatened to buy the property. He threatened to do it, champ, because Jimmy didn't pay the funds, champ. Jimmy ain't paid the funds. Jimmy, why the hell you not paying your goddamn bills, champ? That's nasty work, champ. Yeah, as a grown adult, you should be paying your goddamn bills. Nigga ain't paying the bill. Listen, I get it, man. Some people can't pay their bills on time, and that makes sense, right? But you're rich. You don't have an excuse. Like, nigga, you rich, and you still ain't paid a goddamn bill? That's kind of crazy. It's kind of wild, man. Yeah, 50 wasn't making this up, man. Whoever the person that owned the property, needed 50 Cent to threaten to buy the property in order for Jimmy to pay the goddamn bills. So when 50 Cent was making threats to purchase the podcast space, he probably really wasn't gonna purchase the podcast space, but it was just being done in order to help the person who owns the building get the money that Jimmy owes. Pretty much. You dig what I'm saying? But this is nasty though. Regardless of the situation, this is disgusting. Like, why is this even happening in the first place? You feel me? But then again, this is also because he felt like Jimmy was taking shots at Fifth. Or he thought Jimmy was taking shots at him in whatever. You dig? But yeah, this is why he said that they were squatters, because why the hell you ain't paid a goddamn bill, Chin? Mont Dog Beach says, isn't that how Cam got the Bird Gang trademark because Jimmy was too lazy to do it? Yeah, Jimmy just does bad business. That's why Max B and Stack Bundles had problems with goddamn Jim Jones. Okay? You had two of the biggest artists in New York City and did nothing with them except have them make hooks and do some hook writing, which is very nasty work. Twan Maurice says, prime example of not speaking on somebody else if you ain't pay your rent. Oh, champ. Yeah, that's bad. That's pretty bad. You gotta pay. You have to pay, champ. You cannot stay there for free. You can't do the podcast for free. So you mean to tell me you are definitely a person who has wealth and you had to have 50 Cent threaten to purchase the building in order for you to pay the rent? Well, that's nasty work if I ever heard it, champ. You about to be 50 years old soon. Somebody got to tell you this. Somebody has to threaten to take the property away for you to pay the rent is pretty crazy, man. Salute to DJ NJ 105. Salute. John Lopez says, salute to the best YouTube news. Hey, salute to you, champ. You heard? Listen, we on marathon time, and this is absolutely absurd, man. Why, champ? Why? M Gamble 777 says, why pride will be his downfall. Shaking my head, how petty and childish, weak in the flesh and prideful with the sin. So 50 Cent is weak, but Jim Jones is not, and he didn't pay his rent. I wonder. Since when rich people don't pay, so you're not gonna pay the rent for the podcast? But that's pretty irresponsible, don't you think? I don't know. Mondo B says them vamp clothes must be not be biting like that. Vamp, nobody's wore vamp life clothes and God knows when, champs. 2025, you know. Fred Max says being at the grown age of 50 and not paying bills is barnacles. You heard? It's barnacles, champs. Kind of wild. Why you ain't paid them? Why you ain't paid a bill, man? Oh, champ. So people are angry at Fifth because of what he's doing. Listen, here's what I say, right? Now, initially, I did kind of feel some type way, but then I realized, we don't know what real issues Fifth and Diddy got going on aside from the whole Daphne Joy situation. There's probably other things that we're not aware of, all right? And if Diddy was out here raping grown men and drugging them, he should 20 times out of 10 needs to be prosecuted and shamed for his actions. You heard? M. Gamble says that don't matter. Both of them are degenerates. No winners here. I mean, I guess if that's how you feel, champ, I can't change that. I can't change that. You want to call Fifth and Jimmy degenerates? Hey, I don't even know why you on this video then, champ. I'm just going to be honest. Like, you feel that they're both scumbags, so why are you tuning into scumbag content, champ? I'm just asking, you know. This isn't I'm not pressing you at all. I'm just saying, you think they're both suckers and both cornballs, but you're tuning in, champ. Something is just ain't right there. To me. To me, champ. I'm just speaking for myself here, okay? Maybe someone else might feel different. But I don't. I don't feel different. This was supposed to happen. Nigga ain't pay his goddamn rent, champ. It's outside of pocket. It's not good. Nigga almost 50 years old, champ. He ain't paid it. He didn't pay. He tried to finesse the person who owned the establishment. Kind of crazy, man. He said, I'm here for support. Hey, salute, champ. I just had to make sure why you was. I just wanted to know a reason. That's all, champ. You heard? But yeah, man. It is what it is, man. Listen, I guess you can't try to talk about people when you owe rent, man. I guess this was 50 being petty. He said, well, don't you owe rent? I heard that you did. Champ. So you might want to chill. You dig? Rich Red says, I thought Jim owned the spot the way he was acting. Well, apparently that ain't true. Apparently somebody else does, and he owes them 200,000, man. And he was forced to pay the money. He paid the money, wired the money after 50 Cent threatened to purchase the property again. That's why he kept saying that he was gonna buy the podcast. Photography by Billy Ware says 50 Cent follows the 48 laws of power to the full extent. So he does though. And people don't like that. I ain't gonna lie. And people do not like that. You heard? Joe J28 says Jim Goofy been wiping his buns back to front his whole life. You funny for that. You see he wipes from back to front is nasty work. You heard? Bodine says, you little niggas staying famous people gossip. You a clown for just reporting on this ish. Who cares about his affairs? I'm getting paid to do this, and you're eating Frank for free. Did you know that? Who told you that you could eat Frank for free, huh, champ? Did I tell you you can? Did the man say you can do that? Yo, do me a favor. Instead of going to the gym, I want you to go get me a drink because I'm thirsty. You heard? I need a drink. You did? A nice drink. So for that, watch this. You ready? Until you get me a beverage, you can't come back. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm thirsty. Did you know I was thirsty, champ? I need a refreshment. You heard? You'll come back when you get me a drink with ice, and you better put ice in it too. That's when you can come back. Right? Little who's little? You're little, nigga. Give me a drink. All right. I need that. You heard? The nerve of you. Who the hell did you think you were, champ? Let me guess. You're on break at Popeyes, aren't you, champ? So you're on lunch break at Popeyes and thought that you could just come on my stream and do that without getting me a drink. Well, since you work at Popeyes, nigga, I want a free fountain drink right now. And then I might let you back in. I think about it. Uncle Dust says you a clown for watching content you think is like, nigga, you're watching this though. Feel me? You're watching this. Joan Maurice says Jim did do that video walkthrough, like who owned the place outright. He ain't have to lie to kick it. I mean, couldn't he have purchased his own space? I don't understand the point of renting a space when you could literally just buy your own. Like that's what makes sense to me. I'm assuming this is the building where he does all the other interviews, because he also has the artist to artist podcast as well, where he interviews people and whatnot. So there's a few podcasts that take place at this very same building. So I don't know what he was thinking, man. If you owe the person, the landlord, $200,000 for the podcast space and you didn't pay it, you might have not wanted to mention 50 in a negative light, because mentioning 50 in a negative light has only got you exposed for nasty things, champ. You know how petty 50 is, so why in the world would you mention 50, champ? And you know you got problems with 50. Why did you mention 50, champ? You dig? Oh, champ. Queen Liquid says, does anyone even watch the podcast? Yeah, people have been tuning in. I don't watch it. I don't care about it, to be honest. There's just some drama in there that's worth talking about from time to time. But for the most part, I don't personally watch it. But obviously, other people are watching, right? There was just an incident. I think the incident with Mano and Academics is what caused people to maybe just tune in, and they liked what Mano was saying about Academics, which is very true. But yeah, man, 50 just forced Jimmy to pay $200,000 to the landlord of the building where the Let's Rap About It podcast is recorded at. And he did that, champ, because 50 was threatening to purchase the property again. So yeah, things got nasty. You heard? Oh, champ, do you think those are bot numbers? What's bot numbers? For who? What bot numbers are you referring to, bro? What bot numbers? What are the bot numbers? I don't know what you're talking about when you say bot numbers. Twan Maurice says, Academics funny finna have a field day, shaking my head. Oh yeah, for Jimmy more than anything, if anything. But Jimmy is still Academics crazy. I want to call him Cap Aesthetics. That's his name, Cap Aesthetics. Jimmy, no, I don't think there's bot numbers for Jimmy. No. Here's the thing I gotta realize about YouTube. If you do bot numbers like that, you're gonna lose your channel very fast. Because one thing about YouTube don't play about bot numbers. You can't do that. No, you only be able to do that for a period before they just remove your account. Period. Like, so things are not as botted as people think. The only people who get away with botting are people who are in the music business, people who are just in big business. If you ain't a major corporation, you really ain't allowed to bot anything. So Jimmy, 9 times out of 10 ain't botting anything. Those are real numbers, but they not getting no crazy numbers to begin with. So it ain't like they numbers as crazy as a podcast. You know, the numbers aren't that insane yet. When they're botted, you'll know about it. When things start to get RoboCop-ish, you'll see. It'll make sense when it is. But no, I don't see any bot numbers on their podcast. People are definitely tuning into it. I'm also seeing people share the content on other platforms, which means that clearly people are tuned in and they have an audience. I ain't gonna lie. You dig? My Dog Beat says bartender servademics, all champ servademics sounds about right. Sounds about right. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, gang, but yeah, man, this is what's going on, man. 50 is not playing with these guys. 50 ain't playing, man. And yeah, Jimmy didn't have to pay the rent. All champ, yo, gang, do the mayor a favor and run these likes up. Smash the like button, share the video. We're gonna have more content later. Okay, and make sure you hit that hype button. So the hype button helps the channel in a major way. You dig? So hit that hype button when the video is over. We're gonna have more content. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. But one more thing before we get all the way up out of here. You ready, gang? It's the mayor, the one and only New York Mayor F. Mondani, and you rocking with the town favorite Showface News is Big Gotham. And you already know it's the town versus everybody at all times. Hit that hype and the like. I'm going, gang. Salute.